Well, now I'd like to go to our feature tonight, which is you guys showing the models that you've built under my bill that Chris Course moderates for us. And I really do appreciate everybody that has contacted Chris for this. Again, our sponsor for this is Model Railroad Resource, LLC, who's owned by Amy and Dan Daugherty. And they publish the two magazines that I write for. I really do appreciate Amy and Dan being the sponsor for the My Bill segments. It goes along so well with the philosophy of both of their magazines about bringing modeling back into model railroading. I really do appreciate it. As of the next issues of their magazine, in addition to running my articles for New Tracks, they're also giving us a free half-page advertisement for New Tracks in both of their magazines. And I really do appreciate that. Hopefully that'll give a little bit more visibility to what we're doing on the Zoom shows and bring us some more viewers to the show. And I really do appreciate the help that Amy and Dan are showing, the effort that we're putting forth. So with that said, I'd like to turn this over to Chris Course, who owns Connor Wingo Models, and let him run the show. Chris, it's all up to you, sir.
Oh, thanks, Jim. You're just about there. All right. Welcome to My Build featuring you. And tonight, of course, is February 16th. The next My Build is March 16th. I'm your host, Chris Course. And then first up, we have Martin. Back to Martin again.
Oh, wow. What did I do to deserve that? Okay, well, the check's in the mail. So this is the starting point. I don't know for which car, though. It's the basic flat car blank that I work with. Go ahead, next slide, please. Oh, yeah, it's that car. Okay, so it's once again, it's still the basic flat car. Well, they all look the same until you put something on them, Chris.
I know.
This is in the middle of this, building up the superstructure of this, for lack of a better word. Lots of scribe siding. These windows are all scratch built. The doors are scratch built. The hinges, I made hinges and operating doors. I do this every now and then when I really feel like a glutton for punishment. But you know, it's not hard to do. It's just some brass stock and some brass tubing soldered all together. Make a pivot point and hang the door. Just like any old barn door, it works just fine. Next slide. A little further along, a bit of paint, some weathering, some railings. This is all Western red cedar I got from Kapler. It's nice and crooked, so it works out rather nicely when you want something a little rough. Okay, next slide then. And I guess this is the completed car from the side view. Yeah, I guess it is. So this is one side. I'll just go to the next slide. You know, this is kind of boring. There's a tool bench over at this end. There's all kinds of stuff over here. Stack, that's old Traincraft white metal casting that I drilled out and used. This is actually a paper printed roof, Paper Creek, I think. Old stuff, but looks rather good. It's the last I had of this particular type. Next slide. Yeah, so you got a workbench, vise, toys, tools, leftover stuff, and a nice little lantern over here so you can see what kind of a mess you're making in the dark, so somebody won't run into the back of you. Hunk of chain on the hook here, all kinds of just stuff laying around. The debris field. And I build something like this every now and then when the box of bits and pieces starts to overflow. It's a great way to get rid of them. You put them all, just to clump them all together, and oh, good, it's all gone away until the next time. And I think the next one may have a view from the other end. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, we got an air compressor, some oxygen acetylene torch parts on the top of the barrel, another lantern, odds and ends, bits and pieces, roll of cable, jack over here, and of course a water cooler because you might get thirsty. or not while you're working. Okay, next slide. Oh yeah, so this is the flat car base that I used for the show 6-9 months ago when I showed how I do truss rods, which is why this particular flat car underbody has nothing on it in the way of a brake system. Well, I added a brake system. A lot of fun working around the truss rods doing that, but it's perfectly doable. And yeah, I think this was, in fact, this was the car. I got bored working on the other car about 3 weeks ago, and I decided I've got to do something else for a little while just to get this other box of rubbish off the back end of my workbench. So I decided I'll build another car and put the other green thing away for 2 weeks and come back to it. So I grabbed this, and what's the next slide look like here? Yeah, so I fast forward to the very end. I had these resin casting water tanks in a box, and I thought, what am I ever going to do with these things? So I thought, well, yeah, put them on top of a flat car. Now they actually have a purpose, and some other debris, a toolbox, lots of tools, oil, gas cans, a ladder, odds and ends, the debris field. Go ahead, next slide. Yeah, it's all too clean right now. It needs more debris. I'll figure out, I'll accumulate some more rubbish and throw it all in this car later. Maybe add a figure, a dog. Needs a dog, I think. I like to put a dog on maintenance away cars just for the heck of it. And I don't know if there's another one or not. Oh gosh, there's one from above. So the toolbox has tools in it. It needs more tools, but I got tired of trying to paint O-scale screwdrivers. They are, I have them, but even my eyes aren't very good at painting those. I got to find somebody who has better eyes. Okay, I think that's it. Is it not? Nope. There's another.
Nope.
That's it.
But wait, there's more.
No, there can't be. Please don't tell me there's more. There's just this one, right?
Yep, that's it.
Hooray! I'm done.
All right. Any questions for Greg or for Martin rather?
Someone wanted to know if that was flow quill. Yeah, it was, and it was Coach Green. Rich wanted to know it was Coach Green flow quill. No, not he. I was on the other car, all the faded green stuff. This I don't even know what this is. I think this is actually Polyscale sea green, but it could be the Coach Green too. I don't know. The box could be Coach Green, and the green on the tools is definitely Polyscale sea green, but this could be flow quill, Coach Green. Anything else? Anybody? All righty. Well, that's what I did last month. I'll have 2 more for you next month.
All righty. Well, thank you, Martin. Interesting as always. I always look forward to when I get the email from you. I'm like, oh, what did he do this month?
Yeah. Yeah, there should be at least 2 more next month.
All right, cool. Thank you very much.
All righty.
Next up, Greg.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Greg. You ready?
Oh, I suppose so.
All right, here we go. Oh yeah, the lighthouse.
Yeah, you should know a little bit about this.
Yeah, a little bit.
This is a kit I built about 4 months ago. It's the St. Mary's Gate lighthouse, which is put out by Conowingo Models. And it looked like a very interesting kit. And I was going to give it a try. So lots of parts to this one. Go ahead, next slide. And just to make it more fun, I didn't want to just build it. I went ahead and added a light to it. And I wanted to do more than that. I had to put in a battery box, and the light came with a little switch that would turn it on. And the light was made to go into a lighthouse, so it comes on and off as a rotating beacon would. Next slide. I also decided to go ahead and add a foghorn because, sometimes you can't see the light in the fog. So fitting everything in was not too hard. There's a lot of space inside this kit. By the way, the kit went together real easy. It was not real fast. There's lots of pieces, but it's a wonderful kit once I was done building it. And I don't want adding the light and the sound to overshadow how much I enjoyed building this kit. Next slide. And then once I had the light in it, I decided, well, I need to take it out next to a lake and take some pictures of it. I do plan to someday build some kind of diorama base that would go on this. The actual lighthouse itself is patterned after one that's up in Michigan. This is not one of the Great Lakes it's on. It's actually a tiny reservoir here in Maryland. But I very much enjoyed this, and I like being able to add the light and the sound to it. Okay, Chris.
All right. Any questions for Greg? All right. Well, thanks very much, Greg. Appreciate you building and highlighting this lighthouse. It took me probably about 2 years to get the design right, and it went through, I think, 6 different prototypes before I finally got it right. So here we have a wonderful version of it that you did, Greg, and I really appreciate that. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
All righty. What's in the chat? Okay. Oh, there's one more. All right, next up, Jeff Jordan.
Hey, hi guys.
There you are. All right. You ready?
I'm set.
All right.
I really love this segment because it keeps me from, or gets me past procrastinating. This is a project that was going on for ages, and this My Build coming up encouraged me to finish it up. That my model railroad, Little Colorado, is loosely based on the Rio Grande Southern. It's a series of small vignettes of sections of the Rio Grande Southern. And one of the sections I really like is Lizard Head Pass with its snow shed. And nobody makes a model of a snow shed or a kit of a snow shed like the snow sheds at Lizard Head Pass. And I had photographs, and I searched and searched and found a 1989 issue of Railroad Model Craftsman where somebody modeled the entire snow shed at Lizard Head Pass. I didn't have room for that, but I built my own snow shed here. And then the section that's showing in these photos is kind of trying to reproduce a famous photograph of the goose coming out of the snow shed right by the handcar shed there. And you can see just a little bit. I didn't include a full photo of the entire snow shed because I thought it was kind of boring, but there are a couple of more photos that show bits and pieces of the snow shed. It's about 8 bays long. I calculated there's something like 60 real feet of strip wood to make this thing. It's all individual boards, sides and top, and stained inside and out. So that when I run the little video camera through the snow shed, it doesn't look unfinished inside. And it's all stained with hunter line stain, which worked absolutely fantastic. I'm really, really pleased with the varied effect I got of the weathered boards. Since it's all individual boards, I sealed them and then stained them with hunter line stain and got this really nice varied weathered effect on the wood, which I think shows up well. And then on the next slide, you'll even see a bit more of the wood. Chris, if you want to flip it to the next slide, please.
Sure. There you go.
There we go. And you, especially in the lower right one there, you can see how the boards have all taken up the stain differently. And it really, really brings out the effect of the individual boards like the photographs of the real deal. And this also does have a roof. You can't see the roof detail. There are smoke ports in the roof so that the smoke from the steam locomotives could be exhausted, though the crews were under orders to coast through the snow shed because the railroad managed to burn down the snow shed several times in the last. So there we've got the goose.
Quick question for you. You mentioned sealing it before you stained it?
Yes.
What did you seal it with? Was it like a clear flat or?
Yes. It is
Okay.
made out of balsa wood because the price of doing this thing in basswood was just more than I wanted to pay. There's like 60 feet of strip wood in here. And so It's all sealed with dull coat, Tester's dull coat, liberally coated, because balsa wood otherwise will just soak up stain like crazy. And so got a nice thorough coat inside and out. And then you can see putting the stain on top of the balsa wood after it's been sealed. It still stains the wood. It doesn't sit on top. It still soaks in, but not nearly as much. I actually built test sections and tried finishing them several different ways to see how they would come out, and tried putting the stain directly on the balsa wood, and it comes out too dark. It soaks it all up. And so the sealer slowed things down just enough, sealed things just enough, and gave me just the effect I was looking for. If you look at the photos of the original and you see the boards are replaced over time, they're weathered differently. And this has really got that varied board. So you can see that it's made out of individual boards, top and sides, and came out really well. But another one of my scratch building projects, and now it conceals this corner in the layout. You can see the backdrop there with the aspens, and then that actually does go back to the mountains and looks very reminiscent to the background behind the snow sheds at Lizard Head Pass. And once the weather gets nice, I'll actually start working on the scenery. I'm going to use foam for the base, and I don't want to carve that indoors. It makes too big a mess. But that's why the thing is kind of floating right now, is it will have a foam base in there, which will give me some texture and contour of the surface. And like the original, it's going to have a stockyard actually for sheep inside part of the loop here, right next to the snow shed. And the cars are all Bachmann cars, but all re-lettered by me. Bachmann, of course, didn't put them out, lettered Rio Grande Southern. So they're undecks or strip the lettering, and you can see the stock cars are all lettered RGS. And though you can't really see it, the caboose is also redone, lettered RGS, but also the windows were replaced to be more appropriate windows, and the marker lights, which I really like. That's what I got for you this week.
Alrighty. Okay. All right. Any questions for Jeff before we move on?
Yeah, Jeff, on the real snow sheds, how are those outside supports attached to the shed?
I understand that they are actually unbarked tree trunks, and you can't find any information. I assume that they're nailed in some manner. There is no hardware, there's no gussets or anything like that, but none of the photos get close enough to see anything more. Apparently they fell down all the time. And you see places where they're fallen down, you see places where they've got them stacked and replaced. Apparently it was a very kind of casual thing. And
yeah, just kind of haphazard, I guess.
Yeah,
okay.
Because apparently it needed those supports to prevent it from falling down.
Okay, thanks.
Oof, that's a little bit scary. All right. Any more questions? All righty. Well, thanks, Jeff. That's some fantastic work there.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is Larry McDonald. Larry, you up?
Good evening. Can you hear me, Chris?
Yep, got you.
Okay. I'll introduce myself. You know my name, but I model in ON3, and I'm up here in Canada in a group for the Maple Leaf Mafia, Al Collins being one, and Clark is also a member of our group. And so this is not so much I'm going to tell what I built here, but it's a little scenario I did, and I sent it in to Jim. He was asking for some photographs. I went down to the engine yard in the morning when the sun was coming up, and I wanted to go down and just hang around there and talk to the hostler. And so when I go down, okay, I wasn't expecting this order, but anyway, I got inside the engine house and I was looking around, and so it's backlit with the sun coming in the door, and I like that. You can see the engine house in the upper left picture, and so I shot this picture with my little camera in through the back window. And I did not build this engine house. It was built by another member in our group, Jimmy Culture, but it was built as a single stall engine house. The use for it, and where the side where that engine is sitting was all machine shop. But I wanted And he built it for another gentleman who passed away in our group. And so I inherited the building. So I wanted a 2-stall engine house. So it's being transformed. It's not finished yet. I still needs all the detail. I've got most of the flooring in. I got to put some other details inside and lighting. And the machine shop is now an addition on the back. But I took this picture here in the interior through the back window with my little camera. And I want people to be able to see in and see the activity. I think it's quite neat when you're looking in there and seeing the engine just coming in over the ash pit, or sorry, not the ash pit, but the pits that are underneath the engines there, service pits.
Yeah, there are more pictures. I just tried to put them in what I thought was a logical order, but. All right, you ready for the next one?
Yep, yeah, go ahead.
All right, there we go.
Okay, this is a couple engines that he is readied, and he's got them out in the ready tracks for the beginning of the day. These engines, this town is in the center of my layout, and it's at the base of what we call the big hill. So these engines, their purpose and the purpose for the engine house there to for service area for them, they are the pushers for the big hill. And these will be the heaviest, but you can see they're still in the livery markings of when I modeled Colorado. So I still got changes and they have to be repainted and redeckled for my road. You can go on. Next slide, please. That's it. This is just again, the picture to the left, that one of those windows at the back, the one closest to the left. That's where I took that other picture, but you can see how it's individual framing, individual boards, and the roof can lift on and off. But as Al said a couple of weeks ago, you do so much damage, and this has got a corrugated roof, and every time you lift it on and off, the coloring on the corrugation, you nick it on the edges, and then you got a shiny spot. So I'm going to take in between those two windows, I already have made a door, and I'm going to cut a hole back there and frame it, do the framing and put it so just so you can see in much easier and enjoy the activity inside. And you can see a couple of other engines I have here. The reason that's why I needed the extra stall in there, because like everybody, I seem to have more engines than I really need, but then I needed a place to put them. So this building came from some drawings and some plans that I had and I'd passed on to Jimmy years ago, but he built this, like I said, for another member who passed away. So that was my involvement in that. Next slide. Oh, yeah. While I'm down there, some other visitors came along and they were just snooping around. So you have to put up with them. And this area here is where that person is standing, looking. That's where you're going to be able to look in the back and really appreciate the detail. And then looking through that side door lines up with the machine shop on the other side. So I hope that'll be a good viewpoint. I'm always concerned about viewpoints, and just like another engine house I'm building, I did a mock-up first just to see how it looks in the scene and what it either adds to the scene or just takes away from a scene. So next slide.
Nope, looks like that was it.
Oh, that was, yeah, okay. I thought there was a few more. Okay.
Nope.
That's it.
All right. Any questions for Larry? All right. Well, thanks for sharing, Larry. That engine house is really something spectacular.
It's very close to the edge, and it's on a peninsula in the center of the room, and so you can walk around and see from different angles, but you can see the roof, just how fragile it is. So if I can have you looking in through the windows and in through the doors to see things rather than be taking the roof on and off, I'd sooner do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Larry, I got a question for you.
Sure.
With that switch stand that's leaning up against the building, is that available in HO scale?
Oh, I'm not too sure about HO. I don't. Go to precision scale catalog. If you have an HO, I don't have an HO precision scale. I only have the O scale one.
Yeah, they've got tons of stuff, so they probably do.
Yeah, probably somebody makes it, or either 3D. That is a working one. That's you can see the notches. And so you can just use that as a hand throw.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything more? No.
All righty. Well, thank you, Larry.
Okay.
All right, next up, Jim Murphy.
Okay, Chris, I'm going to try a screen share because this is a very personal, here we are, screen share. And this is kind of a personal journey through my youth. I was raised in Western Massachusetts, and a little while back when I saw Bill Davis put together a series on my build of a tobacco barn, I went, well, that's a Southern tobacco barn. In the Connecticut Valley of Western Mass and Western Connecticut, we grew tobacco for use exclusively as cigar wrapper. And it was grown underneath a cheesecloth, so it was shade grown, and that particular type of tobacco had to be handled very, very delicately. It was very fragile, and to get that smooth burning effect on wrapping a cigar, you needed to dry it slowly and carefully. So the farmers of New England developed these non-vented or non-heated tobacco barns where the sun would be just sufficient to dry the tobacco at very low temperatures, plenty of ventilation. So they developed this barn, which many of which are still standing, and that's where this photo came from, that the no heating was required except the heat of the sun on a warm red barn, and the temperature was controlled by slats on the side that would come out from the sides, as well as vertical end louvers that could be opened and closed to adjust the drying temperature. New England, warm summer days, cool evenings. So it was a very gentle curing for wrapper tobacco.
Yeah, it looks very similar to what the Amish have up in about 10 minutes north of here.
Exactly. The same type of arrangement where you would go a little too fast. Back to the prototype here. Okay, let me get you back here on the, pardon my jumping around here, but I just want to get right back to the original here. All right, yes, so you would use this, this type of barn. The model itself is scratch built from individual boards, basswood, sanded, and then sealed with dull coat, and then painted and or stained to produce that weathered effect. But as we see in the prototype picture, each board develops its own coloration from age. The inside of the barn is not painted at all, so you have to duplicate that with stain. The drying racks are made from rough, untreated wood, usually whatever could be found in a local forest. And the only thing that's functional are the sides. There were hinges at the top of each louver. And then let's go up a couple, please, here. So each of these slats was applied, was stained individually, painted with some diluted flow quill mixed with hunter line stain, which makes for a very nice coloration on some of the darker boards, both inside and out. And the I don't know why it's jumping around on me. Anyway, the interior, each board was turned on the back side and stained again with, thank you, hunter line, by mixing 3 or 4 different stains on the same palette. All the individual boards could be stained lighter, darker, representing wood that had never been painted on the inside and yet painted red periodically on the outside. The tobacco inside was made from foliage pieces available in dried form from places like Michael's and various hobby stores. And these were hand rolled into bundles. In the fields, the boys, teenagers especially because of the low wages, would go out, gather the tobacco in baskets, drag them up to the barn, and then tie them in bundles. The bundles would then be put on the racks, these horizontal pieces in here, and passed up to teenage girls who were doing all the climbing through this through the rack structure. And sometimes this is as tall as 3 stories. And the injuries, well, they were the stuff of nightmares. But the girls would go up there in their little slippers so they wouldn't slip around, and oftentimes barefoot so they wouldn't slip, but they were lighter, so they were able to walk around this paraphernalia up here on through the racks without risk of breaking them. The boys were down on the sides, down on the bottom, expecting to catch the girls when their racks gave way. So all of these were individually tied, rolled into bundles to match the sides here. We have another photo of the weathering that went on. So you could see that the boards were faded in different colors. They were very light at the bottom where the rain would splash up, wet the ends of them and start the rot process. And the tobacco bundles were variegated browns to match that. Thin stems up there at the top. And again, trying to duplicate this kind of weathering. It's so important anytime you're scratch building to draw up your own plans, but also to take as many photos as you can, because there are no kits, there are no details available for this except what you can build yourself. So it's your Saturday afternoon scratch building in the extreme, because that's the only way you're going to be able to duplicate a memory from your youth. The back side of it, individual boards. The roof is just made of tissue strips individually painted, weathered to give that individual effect of that. The corners were the only brighten up that was traditional barn painting, was the paint the trim whitewash, barn red on the outside to retain the heat. The strip, the sign is actually made from an old photograph of the local cigar company from Holyoke, Massachusetts. It was printed on tissue paper, then sanded with very light with an emery board, a coating of thinned white glue, and then embossed into the boards on the siding on a plain piece there, so that it actually looks painted right into the siding. Interior, hunter line stains on the roof trusses, and because of the heat up there, they tended to turn very black very fast. So combination, again, every stick in the truss individually painted so they would have a different hue to them. And because of the interior detailing, you want to make your roof removable. Inside, the ricks that supported the tobacco racks, individually stained before gluing, so there are no glue marks on those. And the white louvers that duplicate the prototype as well. Looking close in there, the bundles of tobacco leaves, the rough main cribbing to support it. This is just all made out of local lumber. The doors patched together with everything. These took a lot of abuse. They're already starting to be cracked, but there was not a lot of care taken on these. So they had to replace boards periodically. So you'd get different colored boards on the inside of it. And then finally, why do you build this? Because it brings back memories. This is the way kids in the 1950s harvested tobacco. And we made a princely sum of 30 cents an hour, which at that age was big money. Unfortunately, it was hot, it was dirty, it was nasty. Your arms would all get covered with rash. And I lasted about a week. So my modeling took longer than that.
Wow.
Did you do any priming the tobacco out in the fields?
No, we didn't. We just loaded those into they use very little priming or pre-curing on those. The cigar tobacco has had to be handled so darn gently. We really didn't do much anything except tie them up and hand them up to the girls in the barn and sweat a lot.
Very nice model, and I love the subject. It was very interesting. Thank you.
One of a kind.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Any questions for Jim? All right. Well, thank you very much, Jim. That was very, very unique and that very personal. So we very much appreciate that. Thank you.
There you go.
All right. So next up, we have Heath Trollope. Heath, are you up?
I haven't seen him.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Somebody
can
said
kind of speak for him a little bit here.
that'd be great.
So go on ahead and bring, I don't know which one he may have sent you, so go on ahead and bring it up. Okay, Heath is building in O scale, and he is building the ice house in the Saturday show that we are doing in Learning to Scratch Build. Heath is kind of taking a different avenue, and he is doing a lot of the work through 3D drawings that he has created. He will be making those files available for the various different scales that we'll be posting later on here on the New Tracks website on the workshop page. He is also doing a 3D print of the ice making machines and stuff in the interior. He is using styrene as his building medium, and this kind of shows you some of the beginning of what he's done. Some of the interesting things in his 3D renderings and things are the bird, I think you call them a bird mouth cleat or something like that, where they actually fit, the rafters actually fit over the edges of the siding. So he's done quite a bit of work here, but this is just a couple of things of his preliminary styrene fabrication. And the next set, just the
What
back
scale
sides
is
of
this?
that. Again, this is O scale.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you.
And I don't know what he's got. Is that about it? That's
Yep,
about
that's it.
Okay, and then with that, I saw the sneak peek of Father Ron. So Father Ron is also doing the ice house build. And with that, I'll let you guys take it away.
All right. Any questions for Chris on that one? All right. I guess we'll turn it over to Father Ron.
Just by way of introduction, I'm a Franciscan priest. I've been modeling for a long time. I started out back in Denver, Colorado, when I was up there working with a modular group. I had to move. That's one of the things like we do, like the military, we get moved frequently. I moved to Indiana and worked with a club in Valparaiso, Indiana. My first scratch build was a New York Central station in that Valparaiso area, northern Indiana. But anyway, I'm working with the scale drawings, and often when people get into modeling, and particularly if they're interested in doing any kind of scratch building, we often begin by thinking, well, I've got to buy this, I've got to buy that, I've got to get this, I've got to get that. And I thought if we're going to do this, one of us at least should be doing one of these where you start out with ordinary materials. So I'm using very basic household type of things in this build. So if you can put the first picture up. In the lower right, you see I've used cereal boxes for the basic pattern of the wall. And I used matchsticks. One of my friends is a pipe smoker, and he uses these long, 4-inch long type of matchsticks to light his pipe. There's a whole argument, I guess, among pipe and cigar smokers that you shouldn't use a click, a Bic click or a gas-fired type of lighter, but you should use the matches. And so I said, well, I'd love to have your discarded matches. And so he was saving them for me. So I used about 25 or 30 matches in the course of building all these walls. I have done a build before using index cards for clapboard siding. And I started out trying to use the I forget what, Northwest chopper, and
I think you mentioned a Northwest
duplicator. Yes.
Yeah.
But the index card kept slipping below the stop. It was thin enough that I had to try to hold down the stop to cut. And I thought, well, a lot of new modelers won't have a duplicator. So how else would you cut the siding from the index card? So I put down a ruler, taped it to my cutting pad, and used another ruler. I had marked on the cutting pad exactly where 12 inches was, HO scale, and I laid the second ruler right on top of the card and cut with an ordinary cheap one of those cutting knives that you can buy in the grocery store to cut the siding. And you can see the whole pile of the siding on the left there. I cut quite a few cards in order to get enough siding. And then I used Aleene's tacky glue, mainly because it's so tacky. And if you use the regular white glue or the carpenter's glue even, you start warping the cardboard. But with the Aleene's tacky glue, it grabs right away. And sometimes before you can get 3 or 4 boards on your card, the first 2 or 3 are already dry. And it makes it easy to cut. And I just let them extend over both sides and turn the card over, the wall over, to cut the excess off. And you can get sometimes 3 or 4 boards on clapboards out of one strip. But I always try to vary that so that you have some boards ending in the middle of the wall so that you can have some creativity. So you can see on the upper left, you can see some of the clapboards ending in the middle of the wall. So these are all the walls done with the, I just glue right over the openings in the wall. So afterwards, after the glue is dried, I use the sharp knife to cut the index cards right out of the openings in the wall. So this is the beginning. I've already progressed to building the freight doors, but I'm not even complete with those. But I'm taking some of those extra strips of clapboard and actually cutting about a 3-inch piece off of those to make the vertical freight doors. So that's where I am so far.
It's pretty incredible using some really basic materials there. It's amazing what you can accomplish. Any questions for Father Ron? All right. Well, I guess that's going to be it for this my build. In case sorry. Does anybody have any further questions for any of the presenters tonight? All right. Well, thank you, Father Ron. We appreciate your input. Got a good start there. This ought to be a really interesting build. So I look forward to seeing what the rest of it looks like. All right, I'll turn it back over to you then, Jim.
Chris, thank you so much for doing this evening. You had some great models that are being built there. It's really interesting to me, at least, to see what people are doing. And thanks so much for doing this for us.